Hey, welcome, beloved sound seekers, vibrangels, and frequencers. It's Wayne Perry here, coming at you from the Sound Therapy Center of Los Angeles. A little bit after 6 o'clock, seems to be getting later and later. We just did our workshop, finished less than 2 hours ago, on pain release and the Sound Healing Sanctuary. So if you missed that, broadcast, that workshop I do every week, every Saturday now in the afternoon at 1 p.m. Pacific Coast time. We used to do it at 7 p.m., but it was getting too late for the people on the East Coast in New York and also some of the people in Europe that have joined us in England and Germany. It's really inconvenient for them to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to do the workshop, so I converted it to 1 p.m. in the afternoon. So we've got new people joining every week. It's getting quite popular, and you really should check it out. The discount is going to end on August 29th. So through August 29th, we've still got our big 56% discount, and you can do any of the webinar workshops, 3-hour workshops, for only $33 each. But then it goes back to the regular price of $75 on September 5th, right after Labor Day, because I got bills to pay. I can't be giving this stuff away forever, but I'm happy to be of service to all of you vibrational angels and frequenciers. And so I try to come online here as long as I can keep up this Facebook live series here at 6 p.m. on Saturday night. We didn't get in here till about 6:12 tonight because I had a brief client session just after the workshop. It's nonstop. I haven't even eaten anything yet today. So I'm going to take a little break after this, but I'm here to answer any questions for you and talk about principles and practices and benefits of professional sound healing, sound therapy, and vibrational healing, and the power of vocal harmonics and overtoning and regenerative sound. So I encourage you, if you're tuning in here, to post some questions, because I'm not going to continue the Facebook Live if there aren't interactions and questions from people. It's just too cumbersome. It's such a big topic to talk about. I can talk about brainwave entrainment. I can talk about the 3 sounds, the 9 core key principles to sound healing, brainwave entrainment, as I mentioned, sound relationships, how to measure vibrational energy, group toning, individual toning, sonic meditations, chakra chanting and toning. These are, just a handful of the many, many topics and subjects and workshops that I give. And so when I come on here live, it's I can talk about any of these topics, but it helps me to have a little input from you guys, so I can focus on a particular area and answer any questions and dive into the depth of any particular area. We've done a few, a number of different topics. So, you can post your comments or questions on the screen there. We don't have any visuals. I'm coming to you from StreamYard rather than Facebook Live, because I found the Facebook Live was taking up my space on my iPhone. I was shooting it on my iPhone and my iPad, and it was using up all the storage on my phone. It's not supposed to. I don't know how Facebook uses my storage, but it does. So I've kind of countered that by going on StreamYard and kind of streaming this, which is actually a little better quality, visual quality of the video, and I don't have the problem with the storage on my phone, so it's a little bit easier. Hey, welcome, Nat. So we've got Matt joining us, and is this a question I'm seeing? I'm interested in finding your home note or soul note? Well, that's a interesting question. Um, I probably can't even give you the answer you might be looking for because I don't deal with there's not a, in my experience, there isn't a specific home note or soul note because we're a bundle of many frequencies, and we have when I do diagnostic sound analysis, which is probably the single most important thing you can do in sound work, because before you can do any real deep, valid sound therapy work, you really need to identify your own personal frequency and have a diagnostic brain voice sound analysis. And that's what reveals your personal frequency. It isn't just one note, it's a variety of notes, some of which will be strong and healthy, and some of which will be weak. And that's what sound therapy does. What we do is strengthen your frequencies with harmonics and overtones and regenerative sound. So there's kind of like three, you could call them three dimensions of personal sound that you have that we go into in a diagnostic sound analysis. The first category, we're not so concerned about it because that's the healthy sounds, the good frequencies that you have that are resonating properly. That's the first category. So that particular one is good. So I kind of ignore that. It says it should be. But the second and third category are the two that I'm concerned about, and that you should have concern towards, which is the weak frequencies that are weak in your brainwave pattern, and they're either dormant, weak, or missing, and so we need to replenish those with brainwave entrainment, which is a pretty easy process. It just takes a little focus and understanding the principles of entrainment, which are really simple. Brainwave entrainment sounds like a very complicated scientific term, and like the scientific definition of brainwave entrainment doesn't really help us to understand the process of brainwave entrainment. So that's why I teach by example, metaphors and examples, so it's easy to understand the principles and the methodology behind it. So the definition, as I was about to say, for brainwave entrainment is simply mutual phase locking of brainwave patterns. But what does that teach you? It's a nice clinical statement, but like I said, it doesn't really teach us anything. Mutual phase locking of brainwave patterns. Okay, well, what about it? Well, a better way to understand brainwave entrainment, which is vital if you're going to work with sound therapy in any context, is based primarily on repetition. It's very simple and an easy example that we've all had the experience of, that we can convert into our understanding of brainwave entrainment in the context of sound therapy, is how a song sticks in our head. We've all had songs, whether we're musically inclined or not, whatever our involvement is with music, we've all had these songs that stick in our head, and even from childhood. I was doing a sound analysis for a lady in Germany last week or the week before, and I was mentioning to her, think of a song during the process that you remember from your childhood, to explain the brainwave entrainment process to her. And she started singing, Frère Jacques, dormez-vous, which I remember as a child, and I'm sure you remember as a child. In the United States, we hear that song, even though it's French lyrics, French song, we heard it repeatedly so many times that it entrained in the brainwave patterns. And that's what brainwave entrainment is when a pattern is formed, kind of a permanent pattern in the brainwaves. And so we have a lot of these patterns that grow from a life experience, and the repetition of these experiences forms grooves and the brainwave in the brain, and the brainwave patterns represent and express that. And that's all entrainment is, but using conscious awareness to put the proper frequencies into the brainwave pattern. Once we've done a sound analysis and tuned in to the brain, properly through the voice, which is what makes it real easy. Otherwise, you have to have expensive microphones inserted into the orifices of the body, which could be not only quite expensive but invasive. I mean, who wants to have a lot of microphones put into the orifices of the body? But so the easiest way to do a diagnostic sound analysis is through the brain and the voice, because what's ever in your brain is also in your voice, and whatever is dormant or missing from your brain will also be dormant or missing from your voice. So the voice is a very important and innate ingredient to do a successful diagnostic brain voice sound analysis. And so when there's certain questions that I've developed over the years that are very useful and specific in targeting different areas of the brain. And so these questions, the initial questions are kind of mundane questions to get your baseline, which is kind of a general pattern. But a general pattern doesn't do us enough good. Real sound therapy is very specific to the individual. You don't want to be just doing general exercises. I mean, you can do them. I teach them, and I've taught some of them on this Facebook Live. Like last week, or was it last week or the week before? I was doing, what we concentrated in depth on the workshop earlier today, pain release. And in the past on Facebook Live, I haven't gotten into the depth of the sound healing sanctuary that we create in consciousness. It's a sonic meditation for release work and pain release, and it relates to the 3 types of sound, which, I can go over. I've gone over that several times on my different Facebook Live presentations. But the object is to understand what's going on in the brain, which frequencies are weak, and the other category is frequencies that are excessive or blocked. So in any event, the sound frequencies are all in our brainwave pattern, and as you speak, I've got a number of categories, 4 or 5 categories that target these 4 or 5 areas of the brain to reveal more and more of your frequency patterns. So we have enough to reveal your specific frequency, where you're strong, where you're weak, and where you're okay. Like I said, those 3 categories, we're not concerned with the ones that are okay and are strong, but we are concerned with the weak ones, which can be supported with brainwave entrainment, and the excessive ones that can be released with vocal toning release work. So that's the sort of the summary in a nutshell. Now we've got some more questions from Matt. Well, I'm glad you're out there, Matt. Somebody's asking some questions. So, okay, so is that the same as Kay Thompson's voice analysis? Well, I don't know who Kay Thompson is, so I can't really comment on that. I can only comment about Wayne Perry's voice analysis. It's, let's see, what's your other question? Sound analysis, similar? Well, it's the same thing. Kay Thompson. There are a handful of people out there that do voice analysis, or some people call it vocal profiling, or it's called, I guess, different things. I don't know if they're the same or not. I was trained in bioacoustics, which is the study of the frequencies that emanate from living organisms. And that's actually the only part of the bioacoustics that I still use, because with bioacoustics, they use sound machines and sound boxes and artificial sound, which I found not only don't work as powerfully and as effectively as the human voice, but it can also be dangerous. So particularly if you get the wrong frequency that you have an excess of in your brainwave pattern, it can exacerbate any health issue, physically or emotionally. And so that's why I warn against these sound baths and all these people, particularly in California, that call themselves sound healers, but they're not really sound healers. They just, they read a book or Google something or take a class or go to a toning group or a sound bath or something. And then all of a sudden they start calling themselves sound healers. I don't know what it's like about the rest of the country, I've been teaching my workshops in every major city in the United States since 1992. I've been doing this for 28 years, and I set up the first sound therapy center in California in 1992. And so, there are other centers, there's, schools and stuff. It's developed quite a bit over the last 28 years. As I've mentioned before, when I started doing this, people would just laugh and they'd say, yeah, your sounds are really going to help my arthritis or my tumor, or, cancer, or whatever the situation was. Nobody really took it seriously. And only clients that I had were seniors with chronic health issues that were fed up with the drugs and the limitations of allopathic medicine and were looking for some alternatives. And that's how I started, but it was kind of an uphill climb doing that, uh, for a couple of years until I got enough exposure on national TV and on radio. Plus, I had my own radio show when I started doing this, but it was a live show on KCLA in Los Angeles every Friday night. But it was a live show. And then when I was certified as a sound healer, I was actually certified twice in bioacoustics and again in England. So I've had a lot of experience with different forms of sound therapy. And I started traveling the world and teaching my workshops. And so I couldn't keep up the live show. So after 3.5 years of doing a live radio show, I took it to cable television so I could reach more people, but mainly so I didn't have to be there live, because with television you can pre-record the shows and then I could hit the road. So I'd record 2 or 3 shows and schedule them and hit the road, and then when I'm back in town I'd record another couple shows, and so that seemed to work out because I did that for 13 years in Los Angeles. So doing that, I explained a lot of the principles and exercises on my show. And I did that, I guess, until about, 2007, maybe, something like that, 2006, 2007, right around the time that I published my book. And then I just got too busy to do the show, the TV show. I mean, I didn't really do it for the money. I did it to help, agoraphobics that, didn't leave their houses. And now we're all agoraphobics under the virus, confined to our houses. So maybe I should go back on TV. But anyway, yeah, so that's what put me on the road and doing my show for years and teaching the, principles and practices and exercises. And of late, the last few years, I've been teaching more in Asia than anywhere else because when the first time I went to Taiwan, one of my students came from Taiwan to Los Angeles to study with me. I've had people coming from all over the world because I'm the only person that does what I do. And so I've had people come here from Australia, New Zealand, Tokyo, China, of course, England, New York City, a lot of places. But when this lady came from Taiwan, she had a healing center in Taipei, Taiwan, and was very interested in the work. And so her schedule couldn't match up with the LA. I used to do 4 times a year in the spring, summer, fall, and winter. I did 4 workshops a year, and it didn't match her schedule because she was working with, who was she working with? Oh, those brass bowls, Tibetan singing bowls or whatever. And she does her singing bowl classes and concerts in Nepal and Kathmandu, in India, as well as in Taiwan. Very nice lady, but she wanted to really learn the ultimate healing instrument, which is sitting right under our noses, the human voice. There isn't anything that can compare with that. So, those people that are interested in going to the top and using the ultimate healing instrument, rather than, wasting your time with external instruments. I mean, they're fun. I have them. I have 4 didgeridoos and tuning forks and bells and, bowls and, a lot of shakers, a lot of devices, which can be fun and occasionally useful for certain people with certain situations. The sound dictates, and the diagnostic sound analysis dictates what I use and how I do it, because it's very thorough and it's very accurate. And it's very specific. But 90%, probably more than that, probably over 95% of my work is using the regenerative power of vocal harmonics and overtones and brainwave entrainment, and the principles that I've developed over 28 years of doing this work. So that's what I focus on. So once you do a simple diagnostic sound analysis, you got half the work done right there. That's the big hump to get over, because that identifies all your weak frequencies and your excessive frequencies, as well as the good frequencies. And then we can apply the sound appropriately, and you don't have to, and now you can do this out of the comfort of your own home. I'm teaching my workshops to give you all the exercises and material online every week, every Saturday at 1 p.m. Pacific Coast time. And you can sign up for 1 or 2 or 3 workshops. Or if you're serious, you can take all 10, and all 10 workshops will give you a certificate in sound healing. You can be a certified sound healer if you do it properly, going through the 10 classes that I teach, all the important exercises and the proper methodology for proper sound healing, not the kind of sound healing that you're going to get at some sound bath, which can be dangerous. The reason it's dangerous, people ask me, why is it dangerous? And the people that are doing sound baths think I'm I'm judging them or something. I don't judge anybody. Everybody's free to do whatever work they want to do. But I have to judge behavior. And when the behavior is dangerous for people, I have to speak out on it. That's my responsibility as a professional sound therapist. And so the reason it's dangerous, if you don't understand why, I can very easily explain it to you. The 2 causes for all disease and imbalance is either too little frequency or too much frequency. And that's what the sound analysis identifies. It identifies what frequencies are weak, so we can put them back with harmonics. And we can do it live. We can do it on recordings. I have them on CDs and downloads. So it's very easy and very inexpensive. In my research for the last over 30 years of researching holistic and alternative modalities, when I discovered sound, I really hit the jackpot. I was able to heal myself of things that I was not able to heal with other holistic modalities. I've used many homeopathic remedies and acupuncture, and you name it, I probably tried it back in the past before I discovered sound therapy. And some work better than others. I'm not discounting anybody or anything, but what I have learned is that what can be dangerous, just like the danger involved in drugs and other various things that can be counterproductive. What people, these so-called sound healers that just read a book or do a workshop or Google something and learn a little bit about sound, and then they call themselves sound healers. Unless you're doing diagnostic work as well as therapeutic work, you have no business calling yourself a sound healer, in my opinion. This is just my humble opinion. Mainly because I see people kind of exploiting this. And I've been involved with a couple of doctors and some elders in the sound healing community in Northern California about establishing an organization to monitor the ethics and standards of sound healing, because it's needed. I'm not a joiner. I've never been much for organizations. I don't join organizations usually, but I see the need for this type of an organization. Somebody needs to monitor the ethics and standards, because like I said, it can be dangerous if you get too much of a frequency that you have an excess of in your brainwave pattern. And that is why sound baths are dangerous, because they're lovely people most of the time. People that are drawn to sound are generally pretty conscious people. In fact, some of my friends and compatriots are doing sound baths, and they know and understand how I feel, but I guess they're struggling to make a living or doing what they can to try to help people. But the point is, when you understand sound therapy in its depth and width, you understand that the 2 correlations that are unhealthy, that cause disease as well as stress, tension, pain, and worse, is too little frequency or too much frequency. And so when you have, like I said a few minutes ago, the weakened frequency can be easily solved with brainwave entrainment. Just put those frequencies back in the brain. It's the most powerful live, but it still can be used in recording to put them back using vocal harmonics and overtones. And depending on your sensitivity, I can't really tell you how long it takes because everybody's different sensitivity wise. I've had people that super sensitive people that have had phenomenal healing in less than a week. You know, that's the exception rather than the rule, but it has occurred. And then have other people that it takes a few months for because they're less vibratory. They have less vibratory sensitivity. And so it takes them longer. They have to be more patient. So there's an upside and a downside in all different situations, in all cases, in all people. You know, with the sensitive people, the downside, they heal faster, but they also go out of balance more easily and quickly. So they have to be a little more vigilant in monitoring themselves and their, and that's why I do reassessments too. It takes less time and it's even less money to do a reassessment for people that want to monitor themselves regularly and keep yourself in check. You know, let's face it, you have to be, serious about this. If you have a car, you don't just drive it till it goes into the ground. You take it in for service. You have to change the oil. You get a tune up from time to time. Well, it's no different with your body. If you're real in touch with your body and real intuitive, you really don't have to do that, that often. Maybe every year or two, you can, do a sound analysis to, see where you're at. But if you don't have any traumatic effects in your life, once you do the analysis and correct yourself and heal yourself with brainwave entrainment for the weak frequencies and toning release work with toning and overtoning for release, pain release, and release of blockages and excess frequency in the brainwave pattern, then you get into balance and you improve. Everything improves. Your relationships improve. That's why I teach my sound relationship workshop. Your health improves, your relationships improve, your career improves. There isn't anything that doesn't improve because we live in this vibrational universe. Our bodies are made of sound. I've explained that several times on these Facebook Live sessions, that your body's made of 100% sound. And, if you're stuck in the old way of thinking, like we learned in school, our teachers taught us in elementary school that, I remember clearly, and you probably do too, when our teacher said, boys and girls, do you know your bodies are 70% water and 30% solid, just like Mother Earth? And we thought about it. Wow, that's cool. Just like the Earth, everything's primarily water, 70% water, 30% solid. And we bought it and accepted it. And generally, it's true. I mean, we are, more water. But what they didn't tell us, maybe because they didn't know at the time with the new physics that illuminated things, that there's no such thing as solid matter. It doesn't exist. It's illusion. And so you should delete it from your vocabulary. Solidity and solid do not exist. That's an illusion. The better word, replace the word solid or solidity with density. Density is the appropriate scientific word for energy. Low vibrational energy, slow vibrational energy has more density. Higher vibrational energy has less density. This is what, one of the many, many reasons I'm so passionate about sound therapy, because it explains everything, everything in the universe, and that I never got answers from any other form of science, even from religion can't even answer all the questions. But that's why I've been into sound yoga since I was in college. I got the answer to all my spiritual and religious questions when I dove into sound yoga back in my college days. Little did I know at the time that I was going to become a sound therapist and get into more comprehensive sound. But, that's how spirit works. It grooms you and develops you, and everything that happens in our life happens for us. Nothing happens to us. So, release any victimhood or victim ideas that you have. You're only a victim if you think you're a victim or manifest that kind of consciousness. Everything is designed for our upliftment, absolutely everything. And that makes me very passionate about life and very grateful. I thank the Lord every day within, for this blessing, to be able to practice sound therapy, which has saved my life several times. And, I've talked about that too, how I've healed, liver disease, kidney stones, that was one of the first things I healed, is my chronic kidney stones. And then later, just 10 years ago, well, after the car accident and several other problems, I had my liver and kidneys failed, and I was in the coma. And they put me on dialysis. They told me I'd be on kidney dialysis the rest of my life. I told them, just get me off this machine, and I can heal my kidneys with sound therapy. But they were, refused to do it. So I was like, kind of between a rock and a hard place for a while. I couldn't even get my holistic doctor to get me off the machine because they have, doctors' ethics that can't interfere with other doctors' treatments. So I had to wait till Christmas vacation. The doctor went on Christmas vacation, and I got my doctor to step in and take me off the damn machine for a week. And then after a week, they monitored my blood pressure, and it didn't. I mean, well, not my blood pressure. My creatinine levels. That's what they look at with the kidney work and dialysis. My creatinine level was like way up 5.5 when they had put me on dialysis. I had gotten it down, even on the dialysis machine, down to 2.3, but I couldn't get it lower being on this machine. That's why I kept insisting they take me off the machine, which they wouldn't do. And 1.5 and lower is normal. And I had it down to 2.3. So, the doctor told me, they take you off dialysis, your creatinine level shoots up and you're going to go right back on the machine. So, but he agreed to take me off for 1 week. My doctor friend from UCLA, when my dialysis doctor went on vacation. So he takes me off dialysis. And after the week, they test my creatinine level. He can't believe that it's still 2.3. It didn't go up at all. He said he's never seen a case in 20 something years of work as a hepatologist and not hepatologist, whatever the name is for the kidney doctors. I get them, I already blew the hepatologist's mind by healing my hepatitis C, and my liver, but, I don't want to talk much more about all my healings that I've done, because I've talked about this before on Facebook Live. But anyway, just to finish my little story here about the dialysis, is that after a week, my creatinine level didn't go up at all. It stayed at 2.3. So he kept me off another week. He said, well, I was prepared to put you back on the machine, but, I could keep you off for another week, a second week. After the second week, I got my creatinine level down to 1.9. And that was enough to blow his mind, and also to take the tube out of my jugular vein, out of my heart, because I refused to let him put those needles in my arm and all the other stuff they were demanding, because I wasn't planning on being on dialysis the rest of my life. And just like I told them, I had healed it with sound therapy. And so they took the surgical procedure, took the tubes out of my heart, my jugular. And I went on back to the dialysis center and brought a bunch of flowers to all the nurses and doctors over there and some of the patients for their help and support, and said, I'm sorry, but I'll never see you again, except for the patients that I worked with. I helped some of the dialysis patients to get them off dialysis, a couple of which I did, and some that I didn't, that just had too serious a case and didn't, they wouldn't let them off the machine. I can only go so far if they're on the machine. Some people were able to get a significant amount of healing. Other people can't. But anyway, I don't want to just talk about that. I want to, let's see, I think we have some other questions finally. Let's see here. I've been playing with using voice over campaign. I have your book, but haven't started it yet. My question is, do you have experience with this? What's this? Well, if you're talking about pain, that's what the workshop was today that you missed, was on pain release. And we went through the whole process, including going deep into an inner state through sonic meditation. So that's why I combined two topics in one workshop today at 1 p.m. First, I had to outline the exercises and the principles for release work. And that's related to the 9 core keys to sound healing, a workshop, which is coming up on September 5th. So you have to understand, I teach all this stuff privately or in a 2 or 3 day workshop. And when I teach it privately, well, then you have a little more freedom to work with me. We can arrange our time that fits with you and with me. And so we can work on it that way. when I've done the workshops in the past here in Los Angeles and every major city in the United States and some cities abroad, I teach it. If I need a translator, interpreter, it can take 3 or 4 days. When I do it in the United States, I can cram it all into 2 days. But, 2 days, 2.5 days, just depends on the situation. But there's a lot of information. It's a long, extended workshop. And so when COVID-19 happened and nobody showed up for my February workshop, I scheduled it for May to put it out till May. Well, the virus got worse instead of better. And the 2 people that signed up for my workshop, I converted them into the webinar workshops, which I managed to get almost by accident because they're so overwhelmed at Zoom. There's no customer support there. So still to this day, I still can't get a phone call or email support when I have questions about Zoom, because they moved from 20 million subscribers in February to 200,000 subscribers, or 200 million subscribers. I mean, it's crazy going from 20 million to 200 million. So I guess that's why they're backed up and they have such lousy customer service. So hopefully they'll be able to hire enough people during the pandemic to give some customer support, or some other companies will come along to give Zoom some competition by offering more customer support. Well, I don't know. I'm not in that business, but in any regard, I did figured out how to get all of this information and methodology in a webinar, and how many hours and how many webinars it would take. And I worked on that a few months back, and we started in April. And I figured out it would be 10 3-hour classes. So if you can sit through a 3-hour, a very interesting and enlightening 3-hour workshop to learn various principles and exercises 10 times, you can get certified, because I can, give you a certificate in sound healing if you do all the work, if you show up for all 10 classes. Now, I noticed with you, Matt, who asked the question, you did register for the workshop, but you couldn't make it. So that's unfortunate. But yes, I will send you the recording. And that's the good thing, too, that if you do miss any of the 10 workshops, we're all busy people. Hopefully, at least we have more time with the pandemic, maybe to be able to do the workshops where we might not be able to if we're working or whatever. But then there's the other problem that I understand, the financial problem. Maybe you have more time, but now you don't have the finances to do workshops when you're not working. So that's why I decided to discount this workshop starting in last April, go through August 29th. I discounted, 56% for the individual workshops, and it's over 60-something% discount for the whole 10, because when you sign up for all 10 workshops and the certification program, you get one free. I throw one of the workshops in for free. So it's a great deal, but it's expiring soon. And then it goes back up to $75 which is the usual price that I charge for a 3-hour workshop, is $75, which I think is a fair price for all the useful information and exercises that you receive. But what I did is I reduced the price, and it's still reduced to only $33, which is a 56% discount off of $75 if you do the math, which I'm not particularly good at, but I did the math to figure out a good, fair price that I could offer people to get them rolling in the workshop and the learning. And Matt, I don't have the video yet, but I probably should have it in the next few hours. Usually I get it in about 5 or 6 hours from Zoom. They send me the recording, and I will forward it to you in an email because you have registered and paid for it. So don't worry about that. You will get that probably later this evening sometime, the morning at the latest. So to highlight that, if anybody's curious about the recordings or the workshop, when you sign up for the certification, you need to sign up for the live workshops, not the recorded ones. But if you attend at least 8 of the live workshops, if you miss one, and I even give you the caveat to miss 2, but you have to attend at least 8 live webinars and workshops. But if you miss one or you're late for one and you get shut out because you're late or you miss it altogether, I will send you the recording. You have a week to get the recording. I thought it was going to be longer. I thought you'd have 30 days or even longer to get the recordings. But unfortunately, as I've learned from experience, because I can't get any information from Zoom, they only give you 1 gigabyte of storage. And since this is a 3-hour workshop, it's not like a 30-minute or even a 1-hour workshop that might be able to be stored in 1 gigabyte. This is a 3-hour workshop that winds up taking up like, I don't know, 2 gigabytes or 2.5 gigabytes. I don't know. I'm not a tech person. That's not my area of expertise. I have my webmaster that helps me with some of that tech stuff if he can't take care of it himself. But in any event, my point is simply that I can hold the recording for 1 week until next week's workshop. So this workshop we did today, I'll have the recording for 1 week. You can register this week, and you can get a copy of what we did last night once you register and pay, for $33. But after next Saturday, we have to open up the space and the gigabytes, so to speak, for the next workshop. So that's why you only have a week, but that should be plenty of time. I mean, if you miss something, you're there for the next day. So, the next day you can have the recording. In fact, you got all week to watch the recording before the next one so you don't fall behind. So that's not a problem. If you miss a workshop, I'm happy to forward the link to you for the workshop that you missed. But, if you want to get certified, you just, you have to attend 8 of the 10 live workshops. You can't just register and do them all at home. This is a participatory experience. If you don't care about the certificate, that's fine. You can do them at your leisure. And you don't even have to do all 10 of them. I mean, if you're just checking out the information or want to learn more about toning or something like that, you could do 2 or 3 workshops, at this bargain price at $33. You're going to get plenty of bang for your buck, learn some good techniques and things. And then you have the choice if you want to go further. I'm going to continue these weekly workshops as long as I can afford it. But I can't afford to keep doing it $33. And then I didn't anticipate the Zoom fees that they charge for presenting a paid workshop. You can present free stuff for very cheap, I don't know, $15 or $20 a month if you're doing something that's free and you're not charging for. In fact, you don't have to pay anything if you have a lecture. I think it's 40 minutes, under 40 minutes. You can do them for free. If you do a presentation longer than 40 minutes, then you have to pay for it. You have a monthly fee. If you do like an hour workshop or 90-minute workshop, but if you have a paid workshop, then there are other fees. You have to pay for the add-on or whatever they call it. So I didn't know even anything about that when I set this discounted price up for the pandemic to try to help people out. Not to mention my PayPal fees. So, I'm just kind of treading water here, but that's okay because I love this work. If I could afford to, I'd do it for free. Believe me, because I love it and, believe in it and I want to share it. And that's my, commitment to myself and to spirit, is to be of service to people. I live to give. And so I'm happy to do that. So it will continue. If you sign up before the 29th of August, you can get this $33 price for 10 weeks. Now it's going up September 5th, but if you get your registration in, like I said, by the 29th of August, before the 29th of August, you can still get the remaining classes that go through September and October. If you're interested in the 10-course certification course. If you're just interested in dipping your toe in the pool and doing 1 or 2 workshops, you don't have to concern yourself. You can do that for only $33 through the 29th. The last one on the 29th is on, I think that's the one on measuring vibrational energy, and I'll teach you dowsing techniques with L rods and dowsing rods. If you're familiar with those, you can measure vibrational energy with that. And then in the second half of the workshop, there's a more advanced technique of vocal dowsing, which is something that took me a long time to develop. It's a more advanced skill but I'm, including that in the 10th workshop. And then we go back to the top with the 9 core keys to sound healing, which is sort of a good foundational information. We'll start on September 5th when the price goes up. Now, I'm going to work with my budget and see if I can, if I don't have to raise it to the full $75, maybe I'll, work with it. But it's definitely not going to be at $33 because, I'm losing money here. But anyway, I don't want to talk about money. I want to answer any questions you have. But Matt's the only one that's posting questions. I know there's more people out there than Brother Matt here. And what is this? I'm really interested in learning your sound analysis. How would I learn that from you? Well, there's 2 ways of learning that. As far as the sound analysis, that's not a part of the training. This is a certification training. Well, you'll learn more hands-on experience. It's more hands-on workshop. Well, you'll learn all the important principles and practices. So that's the prerequisite for anybody that wants to learn how to do diagnostic sound analysis. The only prerequisite is that you do either the weekend intensive, if I'm ever able to resume doing those in Los Angeles, but then that gets expensive because if you're not in Los Angeles, you'll have to pay for airfare. I mean, which I've had people come from South Africa and Europe and Asia, whatever, and they don't care because they're serious about their health and their career. So that's the way it's always been for the 28 years I've been doing, this sound therapy training. You can fly to Los Angeles and you can learn and get a certificate. But right now we're doing it online, so you can still get the certificate, but you won't. You're not going to learn. There's only one other workshop I teach. I mean, I don't have a dozen levels of training. Like, this isn't Scientology that's charging you $10,000 per training or $15,000 or $20,000 and has all these levels so that you go broke by the time you're done with it. There's just 2 trainings. The main one is the experiential one that we're doing online, and the webinar workshops that we're not doing now at the Sound Therapy Center of Los Angeles because of the pandemic. So I'm doing it online, $33 a class. And so whatever the times 10 would be what, $333 instead of the $400 that it was in the live workshop, $395. So instead, it's discounted to $333, and you get 1 free. So minus $33 makes it $297. So you're only paying $297 to be certified as a sound healer, basically, is what it comes down to. And that's the level 1 training. That's the most important training to learn how to do sound healing on yourself and for yourself. So if you do that training and you do a diagnostic sound analysis, that's the only prerequisite. I guess it might have said 1 before. There's just 2 prerequisites for the advanced training, which I haven't done since 2010. I've been doing it privately for people. I've had people fly from different countries and different cities, and I work with them for a few days, and I do it privately. So if you're interested in that, not afraid of the pandemic, which if you're into sound, you don't really have to be afraid of it. Not that there isn't a virus out there, you should be careful, but the masks don't do anything, don't buy into that. I mean, we have to. I can't even go to the store without wearing a mask, but they don't do anything. If you do your scientific research, you'll find that there was research in 2016, 2017, 2019. It's all out there if you do your research and studying. Cloth masks don't do diddly. I mean, they have no benefit for the wearer or the other people. I knew there was no benefit for the people that wear them, but I thought it protects other people from you. That doesn't even do that. If you study the research, you get no benefit whatsoever from these masks. And so it's just something to feed the public, to give them some kind of hopes that there's not more suicides or more stuff. And then that's if you believe the mass media that they're feeding us over the news and television and the media, which is being controlled. Well, I can't say too much about this they've already shut me down my Facebook Live and some of the things that I posted a couple of times. So I have to be careful about what I say. So you'll have to contact me personally and privately if you want to know the real deal and the real truth about what's going on in the media, about the real truth about the virus and about the political amplifications and the medical ramifications and all that stuff. You'll have to talk to me privately because I need to keep these channels open so they don't take me off the air, so I can continue to talk about sound, light, and love, which is what my work is about. It's not political, and it's not about anything else other than sound therapy, sound medicine, and sound, light, and love. So, but anyways, for Matt and anybody else that's interested in the diagnostic sound analysis, I do teach it. You need to get a tuner, which I can get for you, or you can get on your own. You need an orchestral tuner because I don't use sound machines anymore. I only work with the harmonics and overtones of the human voice for therapeutics. And for the diagnostic analysis, I use an orchestral tuner, which most music stores don't carry. They can order it for you. It's not that expensive. It's probably around $100 or so. They used to be about $300, but the price came down, and some companies that were making them ceased to make them. But you can get one, or I can get it for you. What I used to do is get a volume discount. And so if people in the workshop all want to order them, all you really need to do a diagnostic sound analysis is an orchestral tuner and a microphone. That's all you need. You don't even need a computer. You know, I stay away from the tech stuff as much as possible because it's dangerous and it's not, particularly healthy. Like the 5G stuff that's coming in. That's another thing I can't really talk about that's dangerous that I'm not going to get into. But there's a lot of stuff that we're going to be confronted with that we're going to have to make conscious choices and decisions about, and who you believe and who you don't believe. And so, it's up to the individual. The world is changing and you got to change with it and choose the light side rather than the dark side. If you choose sound, light, and love and the conscious people, you'll be protected not only by spirit, but by, the inner forces of sound, light, and love, and the other people that are moving to the dark side. But most people don't even know who those people are. They think their friends and the people that they know in the media and in entertainment and all these people are their friends, and many of them are not. But anyway, I want to get back to sound therapy, and so what's this question, Matt? At least somebody's asking questions. At least, have you tried playing with amplifying the voice onto or into the body, say with a speaker or some other device? Well, sure. I mean, this is all old stuff that I did years ago. My friend Jeffrey Thompson, who you might know about. I think you were asking about some other Thompson, Catherine Thompson, or some other Thompson that does some kind of voice analysis or profiling or whatever. I don't know who that is, but Jeff Thompson works with sound, and he's a friend of mine. We've been on panels at health and wellness conferences and together. I haven't seen him in a few years. I think the last time I saw him was at the Conscious Life Expo when we were on a panel together, or the International Sound Healing Conference. I don't remember, but Jeff's a good guy, and he was a chiropractor actually in the South in the Bible Belt, and he got into more conscious awareness of sound, and he developed a sound bed with speakers in it on his chiropractic table or bed or whatever you call it. But people were kind of weirded out in the South, in Virginia or wherever he was, somewhere around there in the Bible Belt, and he got tired of people telling him, my healer is Jesus Christ, and this is blasphemous, and I don't know, whatever they were hitting him with. He told me a few funny stories. But anyway, he moved out west to California, where people are a little more open-minded, and he established his practice, I think, in Encinitas. He's down in Encinitas, if he's still there. I don't know if he's moved. Like I said, I haven't chatted with him. I think we've had a couple connections on Facebook, but I haven't seen him in a few years. But anyway, he focuses, I think he focuses, what is it, bioenergetics or something like that, whatever. But he works a lot with brainwave entrainment, like I do. But he's kind of tied to the technology a bit. I think he knows, he understands that the human voice is the ultimate healing instrument. But being a keyboard player and a musician, he likes to play his music through his chiropractic tables. He was using my Cosmic Choir, my first sound healing music recording that I used for vibrational feng shui. It's a good recording you can get as a CD or a download on my website for things like that, for, conscious, for meditation. They used it in the San Diego school system, over 20 years ago with hyperactive children, and it helped them quite a bit. And I've licensed it to hypnotherapists and healers and people that, wanted to use it. But there are other recordings that I have. That was just my first recording, the Cosmic Choir. But I remember back in the day, Jeff and some other people working with sound on a more technological level and electronic level were using those recordings. But Jeff, I don't know what he's up to these days, or if he's changed his work, if he has. But his work's a little different from mine. I don't think he focuses on vocal toning. If maybe he does now, but I don't think he was in the past. He was using his chiropractic table and his speakers and different kind of sound sources. One of the cool things about what he was doing, what he got a lot of advances in his work, is he got the secret tapes from NASA from outer space. There were recordings that NASA recorded on their space probes going to Mars and outer space, and they have recordings of all this stuff. And he was fascinated with that because, like I said, he's a tech guy. I am not a tech guy. And so he contacted NASA, and he got lucky. He put the energy out there, and it came back to him. And they sent him a ton of recordings that they were going to dispose of. They were done with them, and they were going to just dispose of them. And he got them. So he's turned out a lot of CDs and albums he's made with the NASA recordings and some of his own recordings and stuff. So I don't know what he's up to these days, but he's a pretty good guy, and I should try to make some time to connect with him and see what he's up to these days. But I think, as far as I know, he's still down in the San Diego area, or down in Encinitas. And we met when he ordered my correlative healing chart for sound therapy that I've been selling for 27 of my 28 years as a sound therapist, in a laminated version, just an 8.5 by 11 full color, 10 mil strong lamination. People love it. It was actually my best selling product for years. People like to put it on their refrigerator, but I included it now in my book, Sound Medicine. When my book was published, I included it for free in the book. So you don't have to buy the larger laminated version, but a lot of people still like the larger laminated version. But the correlative healing chart has the physical and emotional correlates to every musical note. For instance, like the note of D, just to give you an example or a sample, the note of D has been researched to affect digestion. It has a lot to do with digestion, but not only digestion. See, I had some of the basics when I was certified in bioacoustics. I knew what some of the correlates were to some of the musical notes, but it wasn't really in depth. I did some of my own research, and studied other research, and I compiled that chart, the correlative healing chart, so it has a lot more information that I was given in my training. I put together a lot of information from different sources, including my own, and discovered, a lot after some years of experience with sound therapy. I learned a lot of the correlates besides just digestion, like the example I gave, the note of D. Not only is it digestion that's affected, but the liver, the pancreas, the spleen, blood sugar. There's a variety of things that are affected by the note of D, the D frequency. And that's just the physical level. On the emotional level, it can relate to self-approval issues and self-esteem issues, and second chakra issues, and things that relate to sexuality, and relate to repressed energy. And there's a variety of things which you can check out on the correlative healing chart. If you have my book, Sound Medicine, I don't know what page it's on, maybe 147, or actually I have the book here. I should probably mark it myself more, or my book more, and hold it up. This is what it looks like if you're not familiar with sound medicine. We get out of the light reflection, you can see it better. Let me turn it this way, move it this way in front of my face. You still get the light reflecting, but at least you get an idea. So, that's the sound medicine book. I got some markers in here because I was going over some exercises with some people. And it's got 48 exercises in the book. So I wrote it primarily. I was motivated to write it because I couldn't find any books that taught you sound healing. There's some good books on sound. I read books by Kay Gardner, Jonathan Goldman, Don Campbell. And these are elder people that have been around, have a lot of knowledge about sound. Although I don't think any of them are sound therapists, now that I think about it. They may be sound healers of some sort. But they're very knowledgeable, but they didn't teach any exercise. They didn't teach you how to do sound healing. So that's why I spent 10 years researching and writing sound medicine, and contains not only 48 exercises, but there's even a special separate table of contents. In addition to the main table of contents, there's a second table of contents just for the 48 exercises. So if you like, everybody has their favorite exercises or things that they like to refer back to. And I have them on recordings too. I mean, I have the instructional series, The Secrets to Healing with Sound and Toning, with sound in the human voice. And so, it just depends on your learning style. If you learn better auditorily by ear and by recording, you can get the 4 CD set or the 4 downloads on the Secrets to Healing with Sound and Toning. But if you're a reader, you probably get the most bang for your buck for the book. It's only $21.95, and it's like, I don't know, 300 pages or something. How many pages is this book? But there's a lot of case histories, charts. There's things in the book that, like I say, you get the most bang for your buck. There's 320 pages in the book, and you get more in the book. But some people have difficulty learning exercises from pages from reading a book, and I understand that. But if you're one of those kind of people, then get the auditory version. It might cost you a few dollars more, but you can get the downloads pretty cheap, and or the CDs, and you can learn. I demonstrate each exercise twice, and then you can pause the recording and practice the exercise and then continue. So that's why I wrote Sound Medicine, is I couldn't find any books that taught you sound medicine. So I created those 48 exercises in the book. And, of course, you're never satisfied with something after it's done. I always think of more things that I would have added to the book. But I'm pretty happy with it overall. I mean, it's kind of my life's work. And even though I might add things or make some changes, it's definitely my life's work and worthwhile for learning sound healing. In fact, the full title is I always just call it Sound Medicine, but the full title is Sound Medicine, the Complete Guide to Healing with Sound and the Human Voice. That's the complete title, which I should probably remember to start using more often to give people a more accurate description. So you have your own. Matt says he has his own sound bed that he made with transducers. Cool. Well, so you're into the technology, and you said Jeff Thompson, so that's good. But it's all in the practice, and it's all in the human voice. So, I would move away from anything electronic and just get to the innate, organic, natural, ultimate healing instrument, the human voice, and the regenerative harmonics and overtones therein. And that's where you're going to get the most benefit. And that's what my work's about. So if you're interested in the bowls and bells and gongs and forks and all that other stuff, go to those people. If that's what you think you're going to, benefit from, explore whatever and everything you get your hands on to learn more about sound. But ultimately, I think you'll come to the inner sound and the human voice and the sacred sound current within that we rode in on to come into this dimension from the heaven and hell, which is on the astral plane. And that's where we're going back after we complete this incarnation. We'll ride that sound current home. So, might as well cut to the chase. I'm trying to offer people shortcuts to consciousness, if there is such a thing as shortcuts. We got to do the work. You got to do the sound work and meditation. That's the organic, natural way of doing this. You can do the artificial way of using external instruments and or electronics or whatever. At least the acoustic instruments, the bells and bowls and stuff, at least can't hurt you in the way that electronic stuff can. That's more dangerous. The acoustic instruments, if you get the wrong frequency with the acoustic instruments, bells and bowls and gongs and things, it's not going to cause severe problems. It might mess up your frequency pattern if you had a voice analysis. About every week or 10 days, I have to realign somebody that went to a sound bath or some sound healer that gave them bad information, and they got their frequencies all discombobulated, and I got to realign them. But so that's why I discourage people from going to sound baths, because all the people are, nice people. They're sincere. They're doing their best to help people. Unfortunately, they're not sound therapists, and they don't know if you give somebody a sound that they have an excess of in their brainwave pattern, it can exacerbate a physical or emotional weakness or issue. And who wants to have that? I'm not judging anybody, but I have to judge that kind of behavior if it's dangerous and it can hurt someone and exacerbate a health condition. That's a no-no, and that's why I discourage people from going to sound baths. If they're using only acoustic instruments and not synthesized, and it doesn't matter if it's tuned to the 432 pitch frequencies. Yes, that is a more accurate and it's a better tuning than 440. I certainly believe in the 432 frequencies, but I give people the choice. If they come for the sound analysis, I can set my orchestral tuner. So, Matt or anybody else that's interested in learning eventually how to do diagnostic sound analysis. Once you do your own sound analysis on yourself, and you complete my workshop, you can do my advanced training, which if there's enough people for it, it was supposed to be set for this month. I used to do them every August, every summer. I did them every year for a number of years. And then after my accident, I had my accident in 2010. And actually the last training, I had an intuitive feeling, I guess. I did it in March of 2010 because I had some people coming from Europe and this sound healer from South Africa who had never been in the States before. He came for the level 1 weekend intensive, and he stayed for the next week to do the professional training. It's not as hands-on a training. You're not going to learn as much as you learn from the training that I'm doing now. The primary centerpiece of it is the diagnostic sound analysis, and that takes a couple of days to learn. There's also brain dominance testing in the workshop and some other things and some other group toning exercises, but the main centerpiece of it is the diagnostic sound, brain voice, sound analysis, and you have to learn the proper questioning to target the brainwave patterns in the proper way, and you have to learn how to work with the chart. I give you a copy of the chart that I use that you can Xerox or copy or whatever, so that you can make multiple copies. And then you have to go out in the field. So it's a different kind of workshop. This workshop, you do 10 classes, and you can, get certified in sound healing. But if you want to do the diagnostic work and, into the full depth of it, then you either need to study with me privately or wait till I have enough people to schedule the next workshop. And maybe we could, do it online. I haven't addressed that. I was planning on doing it this year, this August. I've got a number of people that have completed the weekend intensive here in Los Angeles, and I was accumulating, attendees, participants for that, and I was going to schedule it in August. And then there were some problems, not the least of which is the pandemic. And so all of that went out the window. So maybe we'll do it next year. Maybe we'll do it online, or maybe I'll keep it privately for people to do it, one-on-one. I don't know. I have yet to work out the details of that. But right now, the prerequisites anyway are doing either the weekend intensive or this series of 10 workshops online through Zoom. And then we'll discuss that. And then it's up to you to schedule a diagnostic sound analysis with me by phone. I do them in Europe, Asia, Africa, South America, wherever you are, doesn't matter. At least we have the technology. Back 20 something years ago, I'd get people to call me that wanted to do analysis. Remember this guy that was on a farm in England, and he called me to do a sound analysis. I didn't know he was calling from England. And I said, it's much less expensive, if you can come here to Los Angeles, because it's a 90-minute session. It takes 90 minutes to do the proper sound analysis, because I include more than just the sound analysis. I include a consultation. I do a handmade chart that I make while you're on the microphone. I'm charting your frequencies by hand on a special chart that I designed over 25 years ago. And so it's a whole process. And then I do a chart interpretation, a Q&A, and then before we end the session, I give you like a sonic prescription. And I, is the best thing to call it, I guess, in terms of sound, how many minutes to listen to certain harmonics in which frequencies that your brainwave pattern is deficient in. And so you listen daily. And the beautiful thing about sound therapy in this context is that it doesn't interrupt your day. There's so many things and trainings and things that you have to do, these asanas or different exercises or things that take up time. And we're all busy people, and none of us want to be given another 30 minutes or 60 minutes of work to do to cram into our busy days. So we're always very cautious and time-minded when it comes to learning new things. We might be open to grow and learn, but there's always time constrictions and our responsibilities and families, not to mention our jobs and our work. So because of that, that's another one of the many, many reasons I'm passionate about sound therapy, because the entrainment to strengthen your frequencies, you can do while you're doing other things. You can use my harmonic recordings. You can download them from my website, and you can listen while you're on the computer, while you're having lunch, while you're getting dressed. If you have a player in your car, while you're driving in your car, you can do this. So it's great. It doesn't interrupt what you're doing. It doesn't take any extra time. You can do it while you're doing other things. So that's the good news. The other news, I won't call it bad news because it's not really bad news, but it's different news in that there is some work that you have to do. Like anything, you get out of it what you put into it. And so you do have to put some time into the process of toning. That's where your toning comes in. And the toning release work is very vital and important if you're going to do sound successfully and effectively. So that being said, there is that you don't have to do every day. The entrainment you really need to do, the listing, the food yin, I liken it to food. As I said earlier, you need to eat the healthiest food in the world, but if you don't eliminate it, you're going to die. And you can have the best digestion and elimination in the world, but if you don't eat, you're going to die. So you have to do both. What goes in the body and what goes out of the body is equally important to stay in balance. And it's the same thing with sound. You have to be vigilant about the sound that's in and the sound that's out. I mean, you can listen to the artificial music that they play on the radio, just don't think it's healing. If you ever thought you had a healing experience from music, correct yourself, give the credit to your body. Your body is a self-healing mechanism, and it can heal itself of various things in its own time, in meditation, during music, during any kind of things. But music is not going to be the instrument that's going to heal you. It's going to be your body, unless you're working with the innate sound of the human voice and within your body, the sacred sound current within the body, or the vibrational harmonics and overtones in the human voice. That's the only real sound healing there is. Now, people get on my case that I'm being judgmental or that I'm negating people, or discounting people that are using the bells and the bowls and the gongs and all that stuff. And I'm not. I use them myself occasionally. It's just not a priority. It's just not as effective. I mean, why spend your time using something that's a fourth as effective or even a third as effective as the human voice when you have the human voice sitting right under your nose? The only thing that would prevent you is fear or lack of knowledge. And a lack of knowledge is no excuse because the information's out there. I can only speak for myself. I know it's in my book and I know it's in my workshops and my work. And what else is out there, I don't know. My research days are pretty much over. I barely have enough time to sleep and do what I'm doing. I used to spend years researching and studying things, and that's the research that went into my book before I wrote it. But, I don't have the time or the interest in doing the research. I'm always open to growing. I grow every day. I learn from people every day, from my students, and they know my philosophy is when you're green, you grow, and when you're ripe, you rot. And so I encourage people to stay green and keep growing, as I endeavor to do myself. And I learned that many years ago from one of my mentors, uh, uh, from Mount Sesame, you know, uh, Senor Kermit, uh, the guru on Mount Sesame, said it ain't easy being green, and he's right. But it's well worth it, because, like I said, when you're green, you grow, and when you're ripe, you rot. And there's a lot of stinky people out there that think they know it all, and getting so ripe that they rot because they stop growing at some point. Don't be one of those people. Keep growing. As long as we're here in this ephemeral illusionary world, we can always continue to grow, because it's a perfect plan in an imperfect world. Everything's unfolding perfectly for our upliftment if we have the consciousness to understand it, be aware of it, and see it. But we are imperfect beings in this imperfect world. And so we have to deal with the vicissitudes of life and the challenges, and some of these imperfections. But the best thing you can do, in my experience, is just study sound, get deep into the sound, trust that, the harmonics and overtones that are already in your voice. They're in the vowels, they're in the speaking voice. It's just we don't hear it because we don't slow down the voice to let the harmonics emerge into our hearing bandwidth. But they're there, and that's what I teach you, how to bring it out, how to just bring out what's already there. It's in your voice, it's in your body, it's natural, it's innate. All you got to do is open your mind and your heart and enjoy it. Let me see. We got some more questions. Matt's the only one that's active here, and I got to cut this short pretty soon. Every time I go on here, I think I'm going to be on here for 30 minutes. I look at the clock, and an hour has passed, and this time it's been over an hour. And so the time flies, but let's see. The ultimate tool is, well, thanks so much for this. And well, you're welcome, Matt. Thank you for answering the questions and being present here for yourself and for this work. You're contributing to the world. Actually, people start to understand when you start doing sound work. You're not only supporting yourself, you're supporting your neighbors, you're supporting the world. People think it's only outer work that supports the world. Everybody's focused on the outer, saving the rainforests, doing this, doing all this external stuff. And that's good. Those are fine intentions to have if you want to stay on the wheel of transmigration. And that's good. You'll get a better lifetime next time, with better opportunities to keep advancing by doing good deeds. It's good to support others and to support the world and yourself by doing good deeds. But the highest aspect of this work of sound therapy is about going home. It's not building our treasure here in this ephemeral world. It's building our treasure within. As they say, the old cliche is true, building our treasure in heaven. Well, I'm not talking about the heaven on the astral plane. Heaven and hell is on the astral plane, and that's lower than here, than the physical plane. So you can get an idea how low we are. This is the world, the training ground of oppression and good and evil and hurt and control and power and all that stuff. And if you enjoy that, well, keep playing with it. Enjoy your ego and the ego games, and until you're hurt sufficiently enough to turn within, to the real truth of sound, light, and love within. So if you want to take that journey with me and the others that I'm gathering, so that we can go home in song and enjoy in the song of the soul and enjoy the journey, then, and have fun with it, with faith and sound, light, and love, then join us. That's what this is all about. And you can get out of the wheel of transmigration, of karma. Most people don't understand the 3 dimensions of karma, let alone how life works, in this dimension, and that we're all sharing the same projection. We're projecting from universal mind. We're all sharing the same projection and the same illusion of the earth and the planets and the sun, the moon and the stars and the galaxies and everything. And it's all an illusion, but it seems very real because we're sharing the same projection. And if you keep going out into it, you'll keep manifesting. As far out as you go into space, you'll keep manifesting more of that illusion. They're spending millions and billions of dollars in space travel, which is so ridiculous. I mean, I thought it was cool when I was a kid and I was a teenager. I was really interested in sci-fi and all these things until I woke up, and started meditating and getting into sound yoga and opening up the inner world and finding out that this is just the training ground. This isn't even real. The real reality is within. And so unless you go in within with sound and meditation and all the sonic meditations that we do to build our consciousness and our inner power, that's the real reality, not this outside that we're looking at. So the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line, right? Well, the straight line is right here, the third eye, the 10th door. They call it in Sanskrit, it's called Tisratil. And some people, we call it the 10th. Why is it called the 10th door? Somebody's asking. Well, because it's the 10th aperture. We have the 7 apertures: the eyes, ears, nose, nostrils, throat, mouth, and the 2 lower apertures. And all those 9 apertures are generating energy out, down and out into the world of illusion, into the ephemeral world, into the temporal world. And if that's enough for you and you're satisfied with that, well, and just enjoy all the sensual pleasures you like and stay here in this dimension if that's what if that's your purpose and what you want to do with your life. But those of us want to go beyond just good deeds. The good deeds will take us to better karma and a better incarnation, but it's not going to take us home. Even angels have to reincarnate into the human body to go home. It's only through the physical body that we've gone through 84 million species of life to get this top of creation of the human body. And we can use it or we can waste it. You can waste it and keep coming round and round, going through the pain and pleasure of life in this dimension, or you can wake up and learn that life starts here at Tisratil, at the 10th door, because that's the 10th aperture. You've got the 9 lower apertures. This is the only aperture where the energy spirals inward and upward in consciousness, where you can go into the reality of life, into and through. You want to realize, you want to see the sun, the moon, the stars, you want to travel to Mars or beyond or to Orion. Right here, you can get there in 5 minutes if you learn how to meditate and go deep enough in your concentration and your concentration, your astral projection, your evolvement through sound, light, and love, and through meditation. Go beyond the sun, the moon, and the stars, beyond the physical universe to the astral universe. The astral universe is far more vast than the physical universe. I mean, and these stretch the mind. The mind is finite. You have to remember the mind just deals with logic and reason. And that's what I dealt with until I found sound yoga when I was in college. I was a pseudo intellectual. I didn't realize I was worshiping the mind. And this is what most people worship. They're not really worshiping God. God is within. And most people are worshiping in the external churches outside of the body. In the olden days, they knew that God was within and the body was the church. So like all things, they have to manifest everything physically. The church, it has a steeple and it has the bell. The sound is always in the steeple in the top of the church. Well, that's just symbolic of the body. The head is the steeple. The sound current is in the third eye. You access the sound here. So the old wise ones, thousands of years ago, or however many years ago, hundreds or thousands, knew that, but then they externalized it. They got out of consciousness, didn't have the awareness that their forefathers had, or the saints and masters and teachers, like Jesus and Buddha and Rumi and Kabir and Nanak. And these were realized masters that knew the secrets of life, that were through sound, light, and love, and it was within. And if you study their teachings, you'll find the sound and the light and the love in their teachings. These were the real masters, but the unconscious people that didn't understand these deep teachings of life, that God is love and love is within. And in the beginning was the word, which is the sound, not talking about written words. They could say in the beginning was the tone, but the word is the sound current that gives us all life. The sound current is within every human body. It's what gives us life. And when you connect with it, rather than just go, the tip of the iceberg and just keep repeating the same incarnation over and over again, or well, we're still learning lessons, we're evolving, but we can accelerate the process or we can retard the process. Either way, we're going home to infinite life. That's our heritage, eternal sound, light, and love. That's what you have to look forward to. Forget about thinking about the viruses or these stupid dictators or politicians that think they're ruling things. They're not ruling squat. God is running things and knows what's going on. And when you love and trust that, you'll see, we're just caught in this little time and space. One lifetime goes back in the blink of an eye on the astral plane. So we think this, 80 or 100 years of a lifetime is such a long period of time to wait and to struggle. It's nothing. It's the blink of an eye on the astral plane. But unless you access the astral through sound, light, and love, through meditation and these sonic journeys and the things that I teach in my workshops and in my private sessions, then that's okay. I'm not making anybody wrong. I'm not judging anybody. I'm just talking to the people that are ready to hear the truth, that are ready to be aware and use sound, light, and love that's within you to amplify that and ignore the lies and the stuff around us that's perpetuating fear, and go inside and ride the sound current of sound, light, and love to your true destiny. You're going to go there anyway, and however many lifetimes it takes you. So you can get in the way, you can get caught up in the mind and the analytical process. And remember that that's the Shiva principle. In Sanskrit, they call about the Shiva was the goddess of destruction or whatever. But that's really the mind that breaks everything into pieces and destroys everything so it can analyze it. That's what the analyzation process is. It's cutting things up into pieces. And so it can understand it, break everything up and analyze it and study it. And that's okay, if you're in college or you're studying medicine or law or something, you use the mind for the purpose it was created for, which is to study and to learn, to figure out maps, how to get across the country, or to learn in a particular field of study. It's not to transmute the consciousness of the soul or to have God realization. That's our highest purpose. That's what we're really here for. But until we realize that, you're going to keep incarnating and do your good deeds and improve your future lifetimes if you want. But if you want to get off the wheel, the hamster wheel of life and death and reincarnation, you have to go within. There's no other way around it. That's why we don't have such a conscious relationship with God, because he doesn't lift us up until we're clean. I've talked, in fact, I mentioned this last week, but maybe it bears repeating again, because I needed to hear it a number of times before it stuck through my stick earth, my earth sign stubborn head when I first learned it. It's just, those of you who have children, I have a daughter who's grown now, but if you have any children, you have your little child, your little son or daughter that's out playing outside in the rain or in the mud, and they come inside, oh, mommy, or daddy, and they want a hug. Well, it's that you don't love them, that you tell them, get into the bathroom and wash your face and hands, take those muddy clothes off and get yourself clean. That's not a lack of love, but before you embrace your child, you're going to have them clean up, right? And then they wash up, and then you hug them to your bosom and you give them kisses and you give them some food or whatever. There's no lack of love there. You love your child, but you don't embrace them until they're clean. It's no different in this dimension. God doesn't embrace us as long as we're carrying the mind with us. The mind is filthy. It has negative thoughts. It has thoughts of violence, thoughts of the mind is propelled in large part by the five, you could call them, I hate to use the word perversion, it sounds so negative or sexual, but it's not. It's just, let's call it the diseases then, or the drawbacks or whatever of mind. The five drawbacks or diseases of mind are the following. You've got anger, greed, lust, attachment, and ego. That's what runs the world. Attachment to power, attachment to people, places, things, connected to ego. All that's connected to lust and power and anger and all these other things, greed. So you can, maybe you do some work, you start becoming aware, you overcome greed and anger. Well, then you got to work maybe a little harder on your lustful tendencies or whatever. You overcome that. So then it's usually attachment. It takes a lot of lifetimes to overcome the attachment to people, places, and things. Like family, we get very attached to family. There's nothing wrong with family. I mean, we love our family, but it's the attachment. That's why Jesus said, I don't even like to quote scriptures, because if I quote the Bible or something like that, then people that aren't into Christianity, I'm not even talking about religion here. I could quote from the Granth Sahib, the great Eastern, the Bhagavad Gita. Doesn't matter what I would quote from. They're all saying the same thing. If you get to the core of the truth, it's all, within. But anyway, but in St. Matthew, it says, I don't know the exact words. I'm no Bible expert, but where it's Jesus says, you call me a healer, and I come to heal you. I do not come to heal you. I come with a sword. I come with a sword to separate mother from daughter, father from son, husband from wife. Now, I don't know how, Christians or pastors and priests and all these people interpret some of these things in the Bible. A lot of things in the Bible refer to people that have inner experiences in advanced consciousness, that are talking about experiences on the astral plane that we can't relate to on the physical plane. So people that are unconscious start interpreting it in different ways, saying, what's he talking about? Well, it's big, and it's inside something big, and it's in they must be talking about a whale. So they come up with the story of Jonah and the whale. Now we know our own simple logic and reason tells us that you can't live inside a whale. But if you use your common sense and realize these are people that are trying to understand mystical concepts on the spiritual level or the causal level or the astral level, they're trying to put metaphysical concepts into a logical third dimensional place. And it doesn't work. And that's what a lot of the Bible is about. And that's why people misunderstand it and misinterpret it. And they try to interpret it into physical terms in this temporal, ephemeral world. And so, whether it's Adam and Eve or Noah and the ark, and there's so many of these things that are just symbols of inner experiences that the real saints and masters experienced. And then the information gets handed down through writings and scriptures, and then common men try to put it together, and they might be well-intentioned, but they don't have the consciousness or the karma to experience that level of awareness and truth yet. So they interpret it in the ways that the scriptures came about, the scriptures in all the various cultures and all the various countries. If you studied it enough, as I studied the history of world religion when I was in college, you'll find out that they're basically all saying the same thing. They're just going about it in different ways, and that's because of the ego and the individuation of soul consciousness breaking up the oneness. And so they have all their interpretations, and they keep creating more and more religions and more sections of Christianity and more sections of this religion and that religion. And all this is man-made. It's not God-made. If you want the real truth and the real spirituality, you have to go in and find it yourself. You can go in, you want to speak to the consciousness of Christ, go within. But by the time you develop the consciousness to go within, you won't even care about talking to Christ, because you'll know the truth of life and eternal life and consciousness. And you could commune with any of the inner masters, the Buddha, Jesus, anybody that's ever lived. The soul doesn't die. Only the body dies. The consciousness is within. And you can communicate with that consciousness, but it takes discipline. So getting back to the analogy of the child that we don't embrace because they're all muddy and dirty, that's the same thing with God. It's not going to give us what we think we want right now. We think we want this enlightenment and this light and this love and this sound and this great majesty that lies within. And that's right. That's a good thing to aspire to. That's a good high intention. But what you have to realize is we're dirty. Our minds are dirty. We haven't cleaned it up yet. We haven't cleaned ourselves sufficiently to be embraced by God. And that's not a reason to judge ourselves or put ourselves down. It's just reality. It's just that until you do the inner work, he'll meet us there, right here at the third eye. When that 10th door opens, you open the third eye and you start journeying within, and the astral regions and the causal regions of consciousness, and have conscious communion with God, then you're embraced and you're uplifted. But until then, the onus is on us. He's left all the signs, all the symbols. He even throws masters in the world and teachers to guide us. You know, people think, Christians think that Jesus is the only one, and the Muslims think Muhammad was the only one, and different cultures and religion believe it's only their teacher, their saint, or their master. But the real truth is there's always been teachers and masters in the world that are realized conscious beings that are here to guide us back home. But we usually don't pay attention to them. We're too caught up in all the pleasures of life and all the distractions. And we don't want to sacrifice that. We don't want to lose any of our aspirations and our pleasures and our aspirations for family and having families and kids and the house with the picket fence and all these things and the job security and all this stuff. And then by the time we start realizing the truth, we're too old to meditate or to, and then we regret all the mistakes, all the things we didn't do when we were younger and we had the energy to do more things like, the toning and meditation, which are basically pretty simple things, but, we're too distracted and caught up with the worldly activities. So that's why there's always guidance in the world if we're ready, if our karma is in such a place where we're ready to grow at accelerated rates and go within to appreciate the sound, light, and love that's within us, then we'll be uplifted and we'll be embraced by God. But until then, we have to clean ourselves. And he's there, he's closer to us than the thickness of a butterfly's wing. That's how close he is to us. You have no idea. He's within your body and so close. And we're protected if we ask for that protection and we have trust and faith in God, spirit, whatever you want to call it. I'm not promoting any kind of religion. I'm just promoting the truth as I know it and I've experienced it. And you can accept it, you can reject it, you can keep researching and do whatever you want to do with it. But that's what I'm here for, I guess, is just to speak my truth, because I'm just very grateful. I live to give, and I'm just very grateful for all the healings I've been through, the tremendous grace I've been given by Spirit that I'm so appreciative of and thankful for every single day. And I just want to share some of that love and some of that truth with you. So I come on to Facebook Live and I do my workshops and I do my thing until I complete my last incarnation here. And then, who knows, maybe he'll send me back to teach more, but I think I'll probably have respite. Hopefully the grace will be there so that, I can, enjoy the fruits of my efforts if the grace is there, which I trust that it is, because I'm very happy with my life. I didn't even know what happiness was, 20 years ago. I mean, I was still struggling with my ego and my control issues and whatever else I was dealing with, repressed anger and all this stuff that, that we can release the anger, greed, lust, pride, attachment, ego, these kinds of things that kind of run our life. But, there's some work involved. Nobody's going to get free pass. But I'll tell you one thing: sound, and you do sound work, it's going to really accelerate. That kind of is your free pass, but it's not totally free. Maybe in the sense of the karma or the pain sometimes we have to go through on some levels, physically and emotionally. But it's almost free. In a sense, it is free. But it just takes some faith. It takes some energy. But like I said, some of the sound work, the entrainment work, you can do while you're doing other things. You can listen to harmonics and regenerative sound that can help your inward journey. Some of it can be done very easily in the time frame that we have, even if we're working 2 jobs or have families or whatever we're doing. But it does take a little time to do some toning and to do healing work, especially if we have a practice or we're trying to share this or help support others. So I support you on your journey. and I'm going to have to end my journey here. I've been blabbing away forever here. We're going to be pushing 2 hours before long, and I guess that's just my thing. I'm looking forward to when I can be silent and the truth will just come through and through the energy, and I won't even have to talk about all these principles. But people ask me questions, and I'm happy to answer them. And in fact, I encourage you to call. I try to keep pretty accessible. I'm busy a lot with my clients, and I'm doing diagnostic brain voice sound analysis via the phone now internationally, because people, it's the number one thing you can do, not only to improve yourself and identify your frequencies and find out where you're strong and weak, but also to strengthen your immune system. And kind of blows me away that my phone isn't ringing off the hook 24/7 during this pandemic for people wanting a diagnostic sound analysis, because it's the only real way that I know of to identify your frequencies so you can do sound healing and sound therapy work properly and appropriately and successfully. Otherwise, you're just, picking and grinning and throwing stuff against the wall to see what'll stick. And that's what these so-called sound healers are doing. They might be well intentioned and have love in their heart, but if they're not disciplined mentally and emotionally, and they're not working with the human voice, which is the key that Spirit gives us to communicate our energy, to communicate our love, to communicate our thoughts and feelings, and then also to create sound with. It was created for three reasons. One, to communicate through language, through words and thoughts and ideas through language. Two, to communicate the same thoughts and feelings more emotionally and artistically through music and chanting and music and song. And that's the two ways that everybody's familiar with. But the third way, and probably the most important way, is through toning, vocal toning. And all toning is using the human voice to move energy. That's all toning is. Using primarily vowel sounds, but not limited to vowel sounds. We use these harmonics and overtones to release blocked energy and to accelerate our process and the meditative process to go home. So we can amplify and accelerate our journey home by doing sound healing work and meditation, or we can retard our progress by getting attached to the outer world of illusion and all the distractions, and we can slow down our process. It's up to us. So that's what this sort of conditioned free will that we have is all about. Maybe in future talks I can talk to you more about the three different aspects of karma. And I've already done some videos on the five frequencies of life and karma and food, and those videos are bouncing around. I know the one, frequencies of food, that you can easily find on Facebook, has got over 10,000 views on it. So people are starting to wake up and eating more high frequency food, fruits, nuts, vegetables, grains, nuts and seeds, give you all the protein and nutrients you need without slaughtering animals that are very sensitive beings. And as well as so are fish. That's no excuse either to be slaughtering fish. They're toxic anyway to, most diseases and cancer and these things come from flesh foods, and the killing of animals and mammals and even fish and fowl. So that's a part of cleaning up your act. Go deep enough in the sound, you don't have to believe me. You'll find within yourself, as you take the journey within, you start to become so sensitive to life. I grew up in a meat-eating family. I didn't even like vegetables. My brother's the same thing. He won't even eat a salad. He's a miracle he's still alive. But but if we're willing to grow and change, it was one of the toughest things I ever did, giving up, eating meat. But I've been a vegetarian since college, and I've been vegan for about 5 years because it's just the highest frequency diet. You don't want to be. You want to sensitize yourself to life and to love. And part of that process, it should come natural. Don't force anything. Don't do something because somebody tells you to do it. Do it on your own because you've discovered the truth within yourself. What makes sense for common health? to me, now that I've long for many years lost the habit and the taste for flesh foods, and I've learned to survive much more healthily on plant food and whatever. And you start to realize, if you go deep into sound, that man is the top of creation. Only man has all five frequencies active in the body. And so the worst thing that you can do karmically for your karma is to take the life of another human being. You're going to really be trapped here for many, many more lifetimes if you're on that level of consciousness. But if you're aware and conscious and you're drawn to sound work and holistic health and these kinds of things, then you've got at least good enough karma to have enough common sense to start avoiding things that are destructive, like cigarettes and alcohol and flesh foods and these kinds of things, and start purifying yourself, and at your own pace when you're ready. And so you do that, then the next worst karma is taking the life of mammals and warm-blooded animals, because they're no different from us. We're the same kind of animals. We eat and sleep and procreate and do the same things animals do. The only difference is in that fifth frequency. That fifth frequency is the etheric frequency that gives us the consciousness to actually have God realization. We can have God realization while resident in the human body. In fact, ultimately, it's our purpose. That's why we're really here. But most people don't realize that that's what we're here and why we keep incarnating. And so we come to the truth to learn that we can experience God and we can experience all these things within ourselves, but we have to discipline the mind and the emotions. And the mind is finite, and you follow the mind, you keep worshiping the mind, that's as far as you're going to get. The only way to access the spirit is through the heart. That's the big lesson I learned in college when I discovered sound yoga. That's when I left my pseudo intellectuality behind. Big deal. I had a high IQ, the highest one in my school when I graduated. But that didn't bring me any of the truth and the happiness in life that I was seeking. I didn't get happy until after years of practicing sound yoga and meditation, and then eventually discovered sound and the true meaning of life, and was able to really discover what happiness is. I didn't know what happy. I thought I was happy. I didn't really know what it was. Now I know what it is because I experience it every day. But in any event, then you take well, so might as well finish the analogy. I went this far with the animals have four frequencies, and that etheric frequency is dormant. So that's why the only difference between us and animals is they can't have God consciousness. They'll evolve into human in their next incarnation, and they'll have the opportunity, if they want to go further and keep incarnating as humans, as we come up from the animal species and the human, and go back home. Eventually, it'll happen for all of us. But like I said earlier, we can accelerate the process or we can retard the process. So then, after animals, then you have your fish and fowl. The fish and fowl only have three active frequencies. Two are dormant. So it's still a significant amount of karma to take the life and be responsible. Just because somebody else did the killing for you doesn't mean that you're not responsible for the karma or the killing. It's like the commander that leads the soldiers into war, into killing people. It's the commanders, the ones that are in charge, that are taking on the karma of the killing. The soldiers are just doing their duty, are just doing the honoring their job and their work as soldiers. We all have our jobs and our responsibilities. Fathers, mothers, workers, teachers, whatever we're doing. And so, but nevertheless, they're killing animals and fish and fowl for us, for the consumption. If we stop eating it, then people aren't going to be killing them for us. So it doesn't matter if you or somebody else is doing the killing. You're going to have a hard time meditating if you're eating fish and fowl or flesh foods. Then you get down the next level of life is insects and reptiles. Reptiles and insects only have two active frequencies and three are dormant. So there's less karma as we go down the scale of life, lower frequencies. There's less karma involved, but it's still a significant enough karma that makes it kind of difficult to meditate. I mean, it's difficult enough to concentrate the mind for true, deep sonic conscious meditation without the extra burden of the karma of taking on by the killing of reptiles and insects. So the ultimate is just surviving on plant foods, plant life. You're still killing. That's the other thing. Some of these PETA people forget. They want to protect the animals, which I'm all for, and I support the saving the lives of animals and honoring the sacred life of these sacred beings of animals. However, don't get self-righteous. Some of these PETA people, and some of these vegans, they get so self-righteous, talking down to people that are carnivorous or eating flesh foods, which isn't right either. Because you have to realize this is the dimension of killing. You can't even survive without killing. You're killing when you're walking down the street. You're killing little insects and ants and things when you're walking down the street. You drink a glass of water, you're killing one-celled paramecium and amoebas. You can't avoid killing. So these vegans and PETA people that get so self-righteous, telling people, "Oh, you're killing, you're wearing leather shoes," and to all of their self-righteousness, concentrate on your own karma and your own self, and let everybody else alone. I'm just trying to support you with some information. I'm not telling you what to do, what not to do. I'm just, put the truth out there, and you can do whatever you want with it. And so we have to kill. But what we can do is take responsibility to kill on the lowest karmic level possible. And what that level is plant life. That one frequency, which in this dimension translates to water, that's what sustains plant food, is the element of water, and that one frequency, that fifth frequency, or first frequency, if you want to look at it that way. And that we're still killing, we're still taking on karma, but it's such a minuscule amount of karma, it's such a small amount of karma, that we can burn it off with spiritual practice, with meditation. So if we're meditating, we're honest people, living from your heart in integrity with yourself and with others, and you're meditating every day at your own pace. You're devoted to spirit, whatever your concept of God and spirit is, it's fine. You don't have to embrace religion. Religion is not God-made, it's man-made to control people. It's used to control the masses. So it doesn't matter. You don't have to follow the dictates of any person, any religion, including my words, anybody's. You find the truth for yourself. Find the teachers, find the masters that hold the truth, and cleave to those that know the way out and that can help you out. I mean, that's if you want to get out. The way out is in. It's ironic, but that's the truth. The way out of this creation is in, and by going within. And then you don't have to come back here anymore and go through all this pain and suffering and strife, which you've gone through many times before, even worse than this pandemic, that we're going through now. You think this is bad, get deep enough in your meditation and explore some of your past lives. You really have an eye opening. It can be disheartening at times, but it's reality, and we have to deal with reality. And the real ultimate reality is within, not in the outward experience of illusion that we're all, somewhat attached to varying degrees. But that's just our projection from universal consciousness, universal mind, that we're all sharing. So we have this all in common. We're all sharing the same illusion. Now let's share the same reality in going within and loving each other and loving ourselves enough and God enough to meditate and spend a little time in devotion every day until it increases and it increases. And we start cleansing ourselves so that we're uplifted and held into the arms and the breast of God. He'll hold us close when we live morally and righteously in sound light and love. And so I have to take leave of your senses now, but I hope you don't take this as my soapbox preaching, but as a tuning into the truth of sound, light, and love within. And please don't be shy about calling me. If you have any questions that you need answered, you have questions about sound therapy and sound, light, and love, any topic that there is, I try to be accessible. I sleep at all sorts of weird hours. You don't have to worry about waking me. I was up till 6 o'clock this morning. I slept for 3 hours from 6 to 9, and I had to be up. to deal with a client and do a sound analysis. So, you know, I'm going to catch a nap in a few minutes here and, or whenever, maybe I'll eat, maybe I'll nap. I don't know. But you're always welcome to call because I don't have anybody screening my calls. If I'm with a client or I'm sleeping, obviously I don't answer the phone. But if I'm awake, I'm happy to commune with my brothers and sisters, to answer your questions, to share whatever sound and love I'm able to share with you. So tune in. I'm looking forward to connecting with you. And I see before I close, my long lost friend, Catherine. Welcome. You are welcome for your thanks. I was wondering what happened to you. It looks like the world is swallowing you up. That's what we have to, that's what I'm talking about. How family and the jobs and all these things that we're committed to, they take up all our valuable time that, you know, we have to put that time aside for God. You know, if we don't, we're the ones that are going to suffer. Nobody else is going to suffer, you know, but that's our choice. You know, if we put the cart before the horse or the horse before the cart, that's all up to us. But we need to make time for the things that are important and vital in our life, like devotion and love. And well, anyway, I've said enough about it. I got to run here. We're almost at 2 hours here. And so I thank you if you're still hanging in, those people that hung in this long. I thank you for your time and your awareness. Until we touch again, I'll try and be on here next week. If we get some questions in, Matt held this going and kept me going this long because he had a lot of questions in, or I would have been off here a long time ago. So if you want to tune in back in next week around 6 o'clock or so, I finish my class at around 4 o'clock. You can attend the workshop at 1 p.m. next week. We'll be talking about group harmonic, group toning groups, and a lot of fun exercises that you can do with your family, with friends and family, toning exercises that kids love. And it's going to be a little bit more of a group family toning day next week. We'll be sharing. And the following week after that will be on sound relationships and the key to relationships, the key to why we feel chemistry with some people and no chemistry with others. We cover it all at these workshops, all the important healing exercises for healing emotions, healing the physical, the emotional, the mental, and eventually the spiritual. But it's not the spiritual that needs healing. Our spirits are pure and perfect. It's the mind and the emotions and the body that needs healing. So that's what I'm here to help you with. If you want to tune in, the workshops at 1 p.m. every Saturday at 1 p.m. Pacific Coast time. Go to wayneperry.com/events. That will take you directly to the events page, and you can see the descriptions of all the 10 workshops, the topics and descriptions of all the workshops, and you can see the link that you can click on, and you can sign up for 1 or 2 workshops, or you can sign up for the whole certification process and do all 10 workshops for 10 3-hour workshops. 10 3-hour trainings is 30 hours. You'll get a workshop free, a webinar free, and you'll get a certificate in sound healing. So you've got the choices there. If you want to dive in all the way and get certified and really change your life and maybe embrace a career in sound healing, I'm looking for proteges and assistants, helpers to help on this journey. I can't do it alone, and I welcome whatever brothers and sisters are ready to join me on this journey. Or, you know, you can just dip your toe in the pool, do 1 or 2 webinars, see if you like it, see if you can gain some insight and inspiration from it. It's all up to you. So as I take leave of your senses, I will remind you that if the eyes are the windows to the soul, the voice is surely the door to the heart. And love in your heart wasn't put there to stay. Love isn't love until you give it away. And so with that, I put God first. God is love. So I say, love you I. Put yourself last with your beloveds. I encourage you to join me in the love you I experience and turn it around. Put God first, the beloved second, and yourself last. So I leave you with those thoughts and my love. Love you I.